Hey, are you tired of not having a game plan that you feel comfortable with for your upcoming fantasy draft? Hey, in this video, I'm going to help solve that issue of not feeling prepared for your upcoming fantasy draft. If you're reading for the first time, my name is Ivan Herrera. I'm a father, I'm a husband, and if you're just like me, you know that time is of the essence, so we're going to get into this video right away. This video is going to serve two purposes. The first one is I'm going to be going over one specific draft strategy that I love using, and secondly, I'm going to be going over 3 different running backs that you need to be targeting this upcoming season in 2023. Now, this draft strategy that I'm going to be sharing with you, I'm going to not only describe what it is, but I'm also going to share some of the benefits that it could provide for you as you get ready for your draft. And this strategy is called tier-based drafting. What you do in this strategy is that you group players of similar value into tiers. For example, if you're picking within the top 6 picks of the draft, you're going to obviously have certain players within that range that you're going to be targeting. And that group of players may change as you get into the second half of the first round. Stay tuned because I'll show you at the very end how I execute this as I do a mock draft for you. That way you can see how this gets played out. But before we go over this example, I'm going to give you 3 benefits as to why you need to go with this strategy as your foundational approach when it comes to drafting in fantasy football. Tier-based drafting helps you identify position scarcity. And the way that you can identify position scarcity is by first understanding how is your league actually constructed. The first question you're going to want to answer is how many slots do you have per position within your starting lineup. The second one is going to be what is the league scoring format. If you are in a PPR scoring format, you're obviously going to value wide receivers as well as running backs that are able to catch passes out of the backfield. Now, if you are in a tight end premium league, tight ends are going to get a bump in value being that the scoring favors this position. And same thing goes for superflex leagues. If you are in a superflex league, you're going to naturally see quarterbacks also get a bump in value as well. Understanding how the league is set up is going to be a huge way that you can approach how you tier certain players within these groups. This is why it is so important to understand the starting lineup setup within your league as well as the scoring format. Before we go any further, if you're getting any value in this video, hit that like button. The second benefit that tier-based drafting provides for you is that it helps you avoid reaching too early for specific players, being that there are other players that have comparable value within the draft. The way that you would prevent yourself from overreaching is putting 5 to 7 players within a tier, and from there looking to see which positions are getting more and more scarce. So say for example, if you are in need of a running back, but you really want to get a certain wide receiver, you can then see, okay, how are my tiers looking? If I say for example, have 2 players that are in the running back position within a certain tier, but see that there are 4 other wide receivers, I still have the chance to make sure that I can get one of the wide receivers that I'm going to be happy with having because I believe that their projected performance is going to be comparable, which means you'll then obviously leverage and prioritize getting the running back position, being that you have some wide receivers to fall back on that you'll be happy with. Understanding this hack is so crucial in being able to properly prepare and also assure yourself from not overreaching for specific players. And essentially, this drafting strategy is by far the most effective in assuring that you're getting the most value out of your draft picks. And this approach essentially helps you better understand the positional landscape and helps prevent you from overreaching, which by far for me is one of the most valuable things that this strategy provides for you. Okay, here's the fun part. I'm going to give you now an example on how I personally use the tier-based drafting strategy to my advantage. All right, cool. So in this example, I'm picking out of the 8th overall spot. I have my tiers over here on the very far left, and this actually has them all categorized by overall players. I also have them set up over here by positions, and you can actually create your own customized rankings on Fantasy Pros. I believe that they have one of the best tools when it comes to preparing for your upcoming draft. In this tier, I'm picking out of the 8th spot. So we already see that some of the main players that I typically would love to target are already gone. So for example, you see here Christian McCaffrey, Austin Eckler, as well as Saquon Barkley. Those are 3 running backs that I would put in the first tier of running backs. Those guys are already gone. So now I'm going to go within the second tier of running backs that I would have, which would be someone like a Jonathan Taylor, Tony Pollard, and even Josh Jacobs. But if I wanted to target a wide receiver position, I see here that the next tier 1 wide receivers are already gone, which is Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, as well as Cooper Kupp. So if I wanted to target the tight end position, the only one that's ever in tier 1 is going to be Travis Kelce. But in this case, I want to go with a running back position. So I'm going to go with Jonathan Taylor, being that he is the next best player within my tiers. So I'm going to go ahead and draft Jonathan Taylor. And then as the auto draft goes through, we see that Tyreek Hill goes off the board, Tony Pollard, Mondre Stevenson, Josh Jacobs, Travis Kelce, Breece Hall, and then we have 2 back-to-back wide receivers with CeeDee Lamb as well as Stephon Diggs. Now, I want to target the wide receiver position, so I'm going to quickly skim to see, okay, how are the tiers looking? And right now, overall, I have Nick Chubb, Derrick Henry, Devontae Adams, AJ Brown, and Mark Andrews there. Now, being that I already have a running back that I feel really confident in because of the volume with Jonathan Taylor, I'm going to go ahead and target the wide receiver position. And of course, as you see here within my rankings, I have Devontae Adams as well as AJ Brown. Now, being that both of these guys are there available, I'm very happy with whoever falls to me. I'm going to go ahead and go with Devontae Adams here to couple with Jonathan Taylor. So as my draft goes on, you see my tiers change too. Now I'm within the tier 4 of the players that I have over here, and you see it has Aaron Jones, T. Higgins, as well as Keenan Allen. Now, I specifically, being that this is a PPR league, I'm going to always prioritize wide receiver, and I'm very happy with T. Higgins here, so I'm going to go ahead and go with T. Higgins there as my 3rd player drafted out of the A spot. And now you see right here, tier 5, I have Josh Allen, Amari Cooper, Miles Sanders, J.K. Dobbins, Chris Godwin, Deebo Samuel, as well as Dameon Pierce. Being that Josh Allen is at the top of the list, it's natural that I want to go with him, but I like the fact that I still got options like Amari Cooper, Miles Sanders, and then if I look at my next tier of the players, I see that there's plenty of players there that could be available to me later on, and this tier obviously is a little bit bigger, so this gives me a lot of wiggle room to go ahead and take any of these players. Being that I only have 1 quarterback in this tier, I'm going to be more inclined to want to pass on Josh Allen and target one of these players, being that I really want to make sure that I don't miss out on one of these guys. I'd be very happy with any player that I get here in the next round. So just because I want to make sure that I secure the wide receiver position, being that I'm in a PPR league, I'm going to go ahead and go with Amari Cooper right here in this slot. Cool, and here's an example of how tier-based drafting can actually work to my advantage. Now that all the players that got selected, we see that Josh Allen as well as Lamar Jackson were taken off the board, and then you also see some players that were in this tier 6 pool that are now taken, but I still have one person that was in my tier 5 that's still there, and it's Dameon Pierce, and I'll be extremely happy with him being there as my 2nd running back. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit Dameon Pierce. I'm not overreaching, but he's right there for me, and this is why I love this approach in drafting, because now I'm not overreaching. Now I'm looking at the landscape and I'm making decisions based on what is currently happening within my draft board, and this essentially gives me more peace, being that I'm not forcing picks. I hope you found that example useful. Now we're going to get into 3 running backs that you need to be putting in your radar in 2023. And the first running back that you need to keep your eyes on this upcoming season is running back Miles Sanders out of the Carolina Panthers. And the reason why you want to keep your eyes on Miles Sanders is because of this. You want to follow the money. The dude signed an incredible bag for a running back. He signed a 4-year, $25 million contract to sign with the Carolina Panthers. You not only want to follow the money in this situation, you also want to take notice that he's going to a coaching staff that is very familiar with him. He's going to be reunited with Coach Deuce Staley as well as Coach Frank Reich, and they are actually looking to get him really involved in this offense. Carolina has even come out and said that they actually want to get him more involved in the passing game, and this is great stuff considering that the last time he was in a system like this was his rookie season when he actually caught 50 passes out of the backfield. And the reason why this is important is because this actually helps secure a very high floor for him this upcoming season. And you couple all this with the fact that he's been an efficient runner since coming into the league. He's averaged 5 yards per carry since entering the NFL in 2021. And then you add the fact that Carolina obviously has a young quarterback with Bryce Young. They're going to use Miles Sanders as a safety blanket for the young quarterback, which bodes well for his PPR upside. Currently, Miles Sanders is going as the running back 18, and his ADP currently has him going 41st overall, which actually means that you can get a pretty solid running back within the 3rd and 4th round that can actually provide a running back 1 upside. Another running back that you're going to want to keep your eyes on is going to be Antonio Gibson out of the Washington Commanders. Now, I get it. He wasn't all that good last season, and there was also all this attention going to running back Brian Robinson. But here's the thing, there's a brand new offense there with new head coach Eric Bieniemy, and we all know that one of Antonio Gibson's strongest features as a running back is his pass catching ability. He's now coming off 2 straight seasons where he's had at least 40 plus receptions in those seasons, which actually gives him a pretty high floor at the running back position, especially in PPR formats. And if anything were to, God forbid, happen to Brian Robinson, you are going to definitely see an uptick in production for Antonio Gibson. And just look at these splits with Brian Robinson out. You can see that even with him in, he's still averaging about 10 fantasy points per game. A lot of it is the value that he's able to bring with his pass catching ability. And now with running back JD McKissic out of that offense, this now is going to make sure that Antonio Gibson maintains that steady floor with his pass catching ability. And as aforementioned, if anything were to happen to Brian Robinson, we saw here in 4 games without Brian Robinson, he was averaging about 13 points per game in fantasy. Currently right now too, Antonio Gibson's ADP is pretty safe. He's going as the 32nd overall running back, which means that you can get a pretty steady running back with high level upside between the 8th and 9th round. Now, the last running back that I would look for in 2023 is going to be running back Damien Harris out of the Buffalo Bills. Now, off the jump, Damien Harris is in a much better situation. Last season, he was with New England. Now he's coupled up with Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs, which opens up a huge possibility for his upcoming fantasy production. And the reason why this is important is because running back James Cook is going to be used as that change of pace running back in this offense because of the explosive that he's able to bring. And he actually had 16 red zone touches compared to the 40 that Devin Singletary had. And because Harris does so well as a bruiser, this opens up the possibility of him getting a lot of touchdown potential, which obviously secures a pretty strong floor for him in fantasy football. And currently right now, Damien Harris is going as the running back 38, which means that you can get a pretty strong handcuff with high level upside if anything were to happen to James Cook, somewhere between the 8th and 9th round. Hey guys, you made it to the very end, and I thank you so much for watching this video. Hopefully it helped you out so that way you can prepare for your upcoming fantasy football season. If you got any value, hit that like button, consider subscribing, continue being great, and we'll see you in the next video.